Hello friends and welcome to another video. My name is Kelsey Ann and I put together motherhood and homemaking videos on this channel. Today we are talking about 11 things to toss. Yeah, I know it's usually like 10 things to toss, but I thought of 11, so we're going with 11. And I also feel like I need to clarify, which I have seen in every video like this. I don't mean to go literally toss these items out. I don't literally go and throw them in your dumpster. Get rid of them responsibly, give them away, repurpose, find someone else who can use them, donate to your thrift store. However you find the best way to get rid of these items, don't literally throw them away, okay? So number one on my list is vases. Now, vases are something that we tend to accumulate over the years. The longer you have been around, the more vases I feel like I don't even know how I ended up with more than half the vases that I own. I like having a few really good vases because I love putting flowers in them. I love plants and greenery, and there's actually a lot of ways you can decorate with vases as well. But they just accumulate way too easily, and then I find myself holding one and then the other. I'm like, they're so similar, they're similar in size, and I like them both. But then just go pull those out, pick one that you really like out of the two that are similar. Hold on to, however many you feel that you need, that you use, but I guarantee you probably have several vases that you aren't using, and probably you never will. Number two on my list is old decorations. Now, this is something that also accumulates way too easily because when I first was married, I was holding on to a lot of stuff that I had in my bedroom, stuff that I liked. For one thing, my taste changed, right? Like when you're when you're newly married to, 3-4 years later of being married and being an adult woman with 2 kiddos, your taste is different. So go through your old decorations and find stuff that maybe you just don't care for anymore. And then additionally, at least in my case, I just held on to a lot because I wanted to have stuff on hand. But I held on to stuff that maybe looked cute, but I didn't like it. I've sort of discovered what I like and what my taste is in home decor over the years. And that's evolved and, it's changed. I'm sure it will continue to change. But I end up finding stuff in my storage areas or just pushed off to the side or even hanging up on my wall. And I look at it, I'm like, I don't really like that. Why am I holding on to it? Well, it's because it was cool at the time, or it was just nice because when we first moved into this house in particular, 1,300 square foot house, and I hardly had anything. So I was just putting up stuff on the walls so it didn't look like nobody lived here, So I've done this, and I would encourage you to do as well. Go look on your walls, go look in your storage or wherever you keep your home decor, and maybe just kind of weed out a few of those items. Number 3 on my list are blankets. Now, we all love a good snuggly blanket, and they're very popular as gifts, and I love getting blankets. I love buying blankets. I love owning blankets. They are wonderful, and they have so many purposes and uses, but this is the reason that we can end up with way too many. I don't have a huge linen closet, but I have a good amount of space, and even in my decent amount of space, I was running out of blanket space. So that just told me it was time to let some of those blankets go. And it was true. I liked all of them, but I didn't love all of them, and I didn't use all of them at the same time. It wasn't like I was gonna have one dirty and then not have any blankets to use. I had plenty to get rid of some and then have more than a few left over. So go look through your blankets, see if there are any that you're holding on to that maybe just aren't necessary anymore. They take up so much space, and it's really not worth using up storage for a bunch of blankets. Number 4 on my list are toys, and if you don't have kiddos, obviously this one does not apply. I have a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old, and for a long time I really did not have a lot of toys, and so I just was on the lookout at the thrift store whenever I went shopping to find some really good ones. And I had some stuff given to me, and I've been able to sort of get get a good basis for my toys. You know, even having 2 kids and not really having that much, I don't think I have as many toys as most people do. It's crazy how much toys clutter up a space. I would say just be very intentional about the toys you own. I think the hardest part for me is like those little random toys that don't really go with the set. They don't go in a certain category. They're just there, and you know, I justify it because like the kiddos play with them, but as long as they're around, I mean, a toddler and especially a 7-month-old will play with the dog bowls. She'll play with a piece of paper. She'll play with a box. So if there's a little toy laying around, she will play with it. So don't justify it like I have in the past, that they're playing with it, so therefore you have to keep it. If you have enough of other things for them to play with, then get rid of those little random items, get rid of those toys maybe that they're not using anymore. Go ahead and weed through those. I'm sure you'll be able to find several that are not serving any purpose anymore. All right, so number 5 are books. Now, you book lovers out there, don't get mad at me. I am a huge book fan. In the minimalism world, books are something that I'm sorry, I am never going to let go of. There is nothing better than just holding a book in your hand, having that physical copy, having them out on bookshelves available for your kids to access whenever, or even for people to loan out and just have on hand. Nothing is better than that. I will never switch completely to digital over an actual physical book. However, because I am such an avid book fan, I realized recently that I've accumulated a lot of books that just aren't serving a purpose in my home anymore. They're not books that I ever plan on reading, especially because my brother and I are really into old books, and we love finding you can go to the thrift store and find books. We found some that are, late 1800s, even mid 1800s probably for a couple of them. And it's so fun to find a book that's from that time and be able to hold it and own it, and it looks so cool on a bookshelf. So there are a couple books that I kept just for the purpose of decorating, but if I am not planning on reading the book, and because I already have so many, it's not serving a purpose for me to hold on to them. And then there are other books too that I maybe enjoyed at the time, but I just don't really care to read anymore. I read it once, not going to read it again. Most good books that I really like, I'm going to read over and over. So that makes it a little bit easier to just figure out the ones that I'm not going to read again. I didn't really care for them, or whatever reason they have. That there are the ones that maybe I'm never going to read. I don't agree with just getting rid of a book because you haven't read it in a year. I think books take a while to get through, and I'm not a fast reader, and I don't have a lot of time to read, so I'm not going to just get rid of a book because it hasn't been touched in a while. There are books that I want to have on hand as resources, and that's for myself and for my husband, for my kids. But there are also books that they're just not going to get touched, and there's no point in these books taking up space on your bookshelf that could be used for a really good book. Number 6 on my list are doubled kitchen items, and are kitchen items that you have double of, or triple of, or quadruple of, depending on the item maybe. There's a lot of things in your kitchen that maybe you feel like you need to have multiples of. That's obviously up to you as far as what you want to hold on to or not, but I think it's really easy to just acquire a lot of spoons, acquire a lot of spatulas, acquire a lot of different items in your kitchen that you just don't need all of them anymore. My husband and I, when we first got married, obviously, we didn't have a ton of money to spend on stuff, and I ended up, most of our kitchen items, I had some of it that I had acquired ahead of time, but a lot of it just came from when he lived alone in his apartment. We still have a couple of those items because I want to get as much use out of them as possible, but we had some items that were just pretty trashy, and we were using them for a long time and just trying to get as much out of them as we could, but I was able to acquire some items to replace, and there was no point in holding on to those anymore. Additionally, you can have other items that you use, like you have a couple, you have several different spoons, and they're all very much the same. I would encourage you to just go through your kitchen, pull out like kinds, and see if you really need everything of that kind, or maybe you only need 1 or 2, maybe 3. Next item on my list, number 7, are baby clothes. And I say this because I think when you're given a lot of baby clothes, I especially, not just through gifts, but I was given a lot through hand-me-downs, and I held on to a lot. Again, this is me. I want stuff just in case. As far as how much you want to hold on to, that's up to the individual, but when I'm given baby stuff, and I didn't, especially when I had my first, and then my first was a boy, and my second was a girl, so I didn't, I wanted to make sure I had enough in each category, like how old they were, and all that fun stuff when it comes with having a baby. I wanted to make sure I had everything, and so I held on to it. But then going back over, recognizing, now that I have as much as I need and then some, being able to go through those things. And I am all for holding on to these baby items. Like I'm not the type to just go and get rid of it all once the baby is old enough or grown out of everything, because Lord willing, my husband and I want to have more kids in the future, and so I don't want to just get rid of stuff and then buy more and get rid of stuff and buy more. But there's a lot that I would like to replace, or that maybe I wasn't totally happy with, and I can kind of weed through that, either pass it on to someone who I know might use it, or just donate it. Just being able to let go of some of those baby items has really cleared up a lot of space in our home and in the bedrooms in particular. Number 8 on my list are knickknacks, and this is kind of a vague one, but I'm thinking specifically like those little figurines and things. Like I collected them so much when I was a kid, and I actually at one point owned a little shelf that had like it was this little unit you hung on the wall, and it had like 4 or 5 shelves, and I just stored knickknacks on them because I just collected them. But right now, as a mom, they don't serve any purpose. They don't even look that great. They're pretty small. They collect dust. They're not like meant to play with. They're not toys, and they're just to look at. And I don't see the point in them. So I've pretty much given away all those little knickknacks. If they're not serving a purpose, they go away. Number 9 on my list are shoes. As women especially, if you're a woman watching this, it's very easy to accumulate too many shoes. I'm definitely not a shoe shopper, but I've grown to appreciate shoes more and more as I've gotten older. And there were a lot of shoes that I was holding on to that I either didn't fit me very well, because I had a couple that I loved them so much, and I wanted them to fit me, but they were just like half a size too big, and I could make them work, but I wouldn't reach for them because they just weren't that comfortable. And especially as a mom, when I go to church or something, I don't want to be on a pair of heels that are sliding everywhere. So just finding shoes, making sure everything in your closet fits you well and you love it. If you don't, pass it on to someone else who may use them more. All right, we are getting close to the end here. Thank you all for bearing with me. Let's look at number 10, furniture that no longer serves a purpose in your home. And you'll hear me talk about this a lot. I've mentioned this a couple times, but it is my opinion that everything in my home, or at least pretty much everything in my home, should serve a function or a purpose. It kind of depends on interpretation as far as what that purpose or function is. But furniture definitely is one of those things where I think it should be serving a purpose. Yes, I want it to look cute, but it needs to be functional. And sometimes, especially in bigger homes, it's really easy to accumulate furniture. There was some furniture even that I had in storage that I was holding on to. It was like I didn't like how it looked. I kept it just in case. I'm seeing this theme here with my hoarding. It wasn't something that I was going to end up using or needed in my life. So that is really a big one, if you can find any furniture that you are able to let go of, because it obviously is going to take up a lot of space, whether that is in your living area or your bedroom or your storage areas, that you're able to just clear that out. It's going to feel so freeing to just be able to pass it on to someone else who maybe could use it more than you can. And we have reached the 11th item on my list, and that is paperwork. I know, it's really a fun one, right? Paperwork really clutters up a space. It's so easy. We get mail almost every day. It comes in, there's junk mail, there's bills that have to be filed, and as much as we are in a world that is less and less paper, there's still so much paper that comes in. It's crazy. And then you have kiddos who are doing crafts, and so many other reasons that paper comes into your life. But being able to have a good filing system, a good method for filing these papers, a good system when mail comes in that you don't need, your kiddos' papers, everything, just finding a good system for that is so important. And if you haven't in a while, go look through your paperwork. It's so easy to accumulate papers that you just don't need anymore. Old manuals for stuff. Most manuals for big items like refrigerators and microwave ovens or TVs or whatever, you don't even need, because most of them you can find online now. So go through your paperwork and see if you can kind of weed out that, because paperwork is so stressful, and the less that you can have in that area, in my opinion, the better. All right, well, we have reached the end of the list. Were you able to get rid of anything during this video, or is there anything that you're kind of thinking you might want to look through? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you are enjoying this content, and go check out some of the other videos I have. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified anytime I post a new video. Thank you so much for spending a little part of your day with me, and I will see you all in the next video.